Michael Jackson was offered a deal so big his team thought it had to be a joke. Millions on the table for one signature and one collaboration. The offer came from someone the industry treated like royalty, and it promised headlines, history, and a guaranteed hit. But Michael didn't celebrate when he heard the number. He went quiet. What happened next wasn't about money at all. It was about a promise, and the reason he said no will make you cry. It was the mid-1980s in London, in a private studio space that didn't look like a palace, just dark walls, soft lamps, cables like vines on the floor, and a piano that had seen too many long nights. The kind of room where legends didn't act like legends. They acted like tired people with music still stuck in their ribs. Freddie Mercury was there first, not in stage clothes and no crown, no cape. Just Freddie, sharp eyes, restless energy, the faint smell of cigarette smoke clinging to the room like an old chorus. He wasn't humming for fun. He was pacing like someone who had a decision to make. Across the table sat Michael's business manager, a man who spoke in numbers the way other people spoke in emotions. Next to him was Michael's assistant, holding a folder with tabs and signatures ready to go. And then Michael walked in. He was polite, soft-spoken, almost gentle in the way he moved. But there was a focus behind his eyes. He greeted Freddie with respect, real respect, the kind that said, "I'm not here to win. I'm here to understand." Freddie smiled wide. "Michael," he said, dramatic as ever, "welcome to my little cave." Michael nodded. "Thank you for having me." The first minutes were easy. They talked about music like two people who spoke the same secret language. Freddie played a few bars on the piano and laughed at his own wrong notes. Michael tapped rhythm on the edge of the table without realizing he was doing it. Then, Freddie clapped his hands once like he was calling the room to attention. "All right," Freddie said, leaning forward. "Here's what I want." He slid a cassette across the table. Not a polished demo. Something raw. The kind of recording that felt like it had been made at 3 a.m. because sleep was impossible. Michael picked it up, turned it over, and read the label written in Freddie's bold handwriting. "Don't let this die." Michael looked up. "What is it?" Freddie's smile faded slightly. "It's a song that shouldn't be trapped in a drawer," he said, "and I want you on it." Michael's manager sat up straighter. The assistant's eyes widened. A Freddie Mercury collaboration was more than music. It was an earthquake. Freddie continued, voice calm but intense. "I want you to sing with me," he said, "and I want to build it properly. Studio time, musicians, a full release, a global push." Michael nodded slowly, listening. Freddie's eyes flicked to the manager's folder. "And I want it big," he added, like he already knew how this would sound. "I'm not shy about that." The manager didn't wait. He opened the folder and slid out the offer sheet like he'd been preparing for this moment all day. "Michael," he said, careful and confident, "this is the number." Michael glanced at the page. It was the kind of number that made people forget their principles. Freddie watched Michael's face like he was waiting for the sparkle of excitement. Instead, Michael went still. Not shocked by the amount. Michael had seen big numbers before. "But troubled?" He set the paper down. Freddie tilted his head. "Too small?" he teased lightly. Michael didn't laugh. "No," Michael said quietly. "It's not that." The manager leaned in, confused. "Michael, this is extremely favorable." Freddie's teasing tone disappeared. "Then what is it?" Freddie asked. Michael held Freddie's gaze for a moment, then looked at the cassette again. "Don't let this die." He turned it in his hands like it was heavier than plastic. Finally he spoke, carefully. "Freddie," he said, "why are you offering me this much?" Freddie's mouth tightened. "Because I want you," he said simply. "Because you're Michael Jackson, and because I want this to be immortal." Michael nodded once. "And why do you need it to be immortal?" he asked. The room cooled. The manager shifted uncomfortably. The assistant stopped flipping pages. Freddie's eyes darted away for half a second, rare for him. Then he smiled again, but softer this time. "Because," Freddie said, "you don't always get to choose how long you have." Michael's expression changed. He didn't say anything yet, but something in him understood the weight behind that sentence. Not the details, not the private truth, just the human reality. Freddie is talking like time matters. Michael set the cassette down gently. "I can't take that," he said. The manager blinked. "Michael," Freddie stared. "You can't take what?" "The money," Michael said, calm. "I can't take millions from you for this." Freddie's brows lifted, irritated now. "Why not? It's business." Michael's voice stayed steady. "Because it doesn't feel like business," he said. "It feels like you're trying to buy certainty." Freddie's jaw tightened. "And if I am?" Michael leaned forward slightly. "Then I don't want it," he said. "I don't want your fear in my pocket." Silence. Freddie stared at him like he wasn't sure whether to be angry or moved. Michael continued, gently but firmly. "If we make something together," he said, "it has to be because we want to make it, not because you're trying to outrun something." Freddie's eyes flashed. "You think I'm scared?" he snapped. Michael didn't flinch. "I think you're human," he said. That sentence landed harder than any insult. Freddie's anger faltered. He turned away, walked to the piano, pressed one key softly, then another, like he was using sound to keep himself from cracking. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. "You know what's funny?" Freddie said. "People think I'm fearless." Michael nodded. "They think that about me too," he said quietly. Freddie laughed once, short and bitter. "I don't want sympathy," Freddie said. "I'm not giving you sympathy," Michael replied. "I'm giving you the truth." Freddie turned back. His eyes were wet, but he refused to let the tears fall. "So what?" Freddie said. "You're just going to walk away from history?" Michael shook his head. "No," he said. "I'm going to walk toward it the right way." He reached into the folder, pulled out a pen, and slid the contract back toward his manager. "Take the number off," Michael said. "All of it." The manager stiffened. "Michael, that's—" "Take it off," Michael repeated. Freddie stared. Michael looked at Freddie and said, "I'll do the song," he said, "but not for millions." Freddie's voice cracked slightly. "Then for what?" Michael glanced at the cassette again. "For the song," he said, "and for one condition." Freddie narrowed his eyes. "What condition?" Michael's voice lowered. "When it comes out," he said, "the money doesn't go to me. It goes to people who won't get to buy time either." The room went still. Freddie's expression shifted, anger dissolving into something else. "You mean charity?" Freddie said softly. Michael nodded. "Hospices, children's wards, families who are watching someone fade and can't do anything about it." Freddie swallowed hard. "You'd do that?" he asked. Michael met his eyes. "Yes," he said. "Because if you're thinking about time tonight, then I want this song to mean something beyond charts." Freddie looked away, and finally, one tear slipped down. He wiped it quickly, annoyed at himself. "You're impossible," he muttered. Michael gave a small smile. "So are you." Freddie walked back to the table, slowly, like each step was heavier than the last. He picked up the contract and stared at the blank space where the number had been. Then he laughed. This time, not bitter, but broken open. "All my life," Freddie said, voice shaking, "people have tried to buy my yes." He looked up at Michael. "And you just gave me yours. For free." Michael shook his head gently. "Not free," he said. "For the right reason." Freddie exhaled and nodded once, like he was accepting a gift he didn't feel worthy of. "All right," he whispered. "Then we do it your way." They recorded that night. Not perfectly, not smoothly. There were stops and starts, jokes that didn't land, a few moments where Freddie snapped and immediately apologized. Michael stayed patient. The room warmed. The music started to breathe. At one point, after a take, Freddie leaned toward the mic and said quietly, almost to himself, "Don't let this die." Michael heard it and replied without looking up from the lyrics, "I won't." Later, long after the session ended, Freddie walked Michael to the door. The hallway outside was empty, the kind of quiet you only hear after everyone else has gone home. Freddie stopped him. Michael," he said. Michael turned. Freddie hesitated like the next words were the hardest he'd ever had to sing. "Thank you," Freddie said, "for not letting me turn music into fear." Michael nodded once, eyes gentle. "Thank you," he said back, "for asking me to be part of it." They shook hands, and as Michael walked away, Freddie called after him, voice low but clear. "You were right." Michael paused, looked back. "About what?" he asked. Freddie swallowed. "About time," he said. "About what matters." Michael nodded, then left. Years later, people would argue about deals, contracts, collaborations that happened and didn't happen. They'd gossip about money like money was the only truth. But the real truth of that night wasn't a number. It was a decision. Michael Jackson refused millions, not because he didn't want the fame, but because he recognized something fragile in another artist and chose to protect it. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a superstar can say isn't yes. Sometimes it's not like that. And four walls in London for one night held a kind of respect that no headline could ever fully explain. If this story stayed with you, please like and subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that the right reason matters more than the right price. Have you ever seen someone choose integrity over money when nobody would have blamed them for taking the deal? Tell us in the comments, and hit the notification bell for more untold documentary-style stories from the world of music.